Welcome to Discipleship Hoops Podcast, where basketball meets purpose. This isn't just about mastering skills on the court, it's about developing the complete athlete. We're here to help young players grow stronger, smarter, and more skilled while deepening their character and strengthening their faith. At Discipleship Hoops, we believe basketball is more than a game. It's a platform for transformation, teaching discipline, teamwork, and resilience. Together, let's empower the next generation of leaders to excel both on and off the court. This is Discipleship Hoops through basketball.
What's good, everyone? Welcome to the latest and greatest edition of the Discipleship Hoops Podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy. You're in for a treat today. Super in for a great treat today. As you see, I have Miss Sarah Thomas with me today. And anyone that don't know who Sarah Thomas is, you think Tom Brady is the GOAT? This is the GOAT of the NFL right here. So, let me enlighten you of who she is. So, Miss Sarah Thomas is the first woman to officiate a major college football game, the first woman to officiate a football bowl game, first woman to officiate in a Big Ten football stadium, first full-time woman official in NFL history, first woman to officiate an NFL playoff game, and if that's not enough, she is the first woman to ever officiate a Super Bowl. Ms. Thomas, welcome to the Discipleship Hoops Podcast. When the day is done, you're on the couch with your PJs on, hair in a bun, glass of wine. Other than what I just read, who is Sarah Thomas?
I'm a mother of 3 amazing kids, a believer, a very flawed individual that serves a perfect God, but I'm a mother. I'm a hardworking woman, and that's it. I don't look for any notoriety, for any of those things that you just read off, but I just want to leave a legacy of being a good person and a great mother.
All right, great. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
Are you ready to take your child's game to the next level? You gotta check in with Discipleship Hoops. We offer individualized basketball training designed to help your young athletes not only master their craft on the court, but also to build discipline, confidence, and faith. Whether they need work improving their shot, sharpening their ball handling skills, or elevating their basketball IQ, we do it all in our tailored sessions that are designed to help your player grow not only as a player, but as a leader. Don't wait. Don't delay. Start your journey today. Visit j5solutions.com/discipleship hoops. That's j5solutions.com/discipleship hoops. Let's build their game and their future one step at a time. That's j5solutions.com/discipleship hoops. That's j5solutions.com/discipleship hoops. We can't wait to get you on the court.
I truly appreciate it. Let's start with humble beginnings.
Okay.
All right. Grew up, born and raised. I know you grew up and was raised Pascagoula, Mississippi.
That's it.
So I read somewhere that you were the first student at Pascagoula High School to letter in softball 5 times.
I was. Actually, I believe I was the first athlete in the state of Mississippi to letter in a varsity sport 5 times.
Okay.
But definitely at Pascagoula.
So, real quick, if high school was 4 years and you lettered 5 times.
That's right. So it's crazy. I was in 8th grade, and that's when they first allowed underclassmen to play a varsity sport or open it up. Because I believe now, like 7th graders can make the varsity in certain sports. And so my mom thought, yeah, go out and try out. She didn't think I would make it. Thanks, Mom. But she goes, not only did you make it, but you started. for the varsity team. And she said she believes that's what sprung me to think I was much older than what I was at such a young age, because I think the drinking age was 18 then. I did not drink because I was like, I'm going to be the statistic that something will happen, but that's how it happened. So 8th grade.
Okay, good stuff. So you went from Pascagoula High School, then you went on to the University of Mobile.
Yeah.
What I found interesting was that you played softball in high school. That's where your accolades come from. But at Mobile, and that I thought this was great, right? At the University of Mobile, you were there on a basketball scholarship.
Correct.
In 3 years, still to this day, top 5 at points, rebounds, assists, and steals.
It is crazy. And this is the thing, as a former athlete, I never kept up with stats. I never kept up with those things. I was just about wanting to win and not lose. So whenever I started in the NFL, or when the news media and they were asking me, what were your stats? I reached out to my former college coach, and she started compiling all this data.
Right.
Well, one, I forgot that I was an All-American, academic All-American.
Yeah.
And then the points, I think it was like 779 in 3 years. I was like, if I had gone there all 4, I would have hit the 1,000. I would want to think I would have, but I can tell you that the school, I mean, top 5, that's crazy to think. I mean, that proves a point though. Attempts, and I'm still in the top 5, shoot or shoot, right?
That's right.
Shoot or shoot. Keep shooting.
Yes. I just told my favorite trainee that you only miss the shots you don't take.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right.
So coming up through that, from high school to college, at that time, what did sports teach you about competition, about discipline and perseverance?
Sure. And of course, it was a different time back then. It's crazy to think I'm old enough to say that. But this day and time, and I reflect on what it meant to me and taught me versus even now, it's really the same principles. Outside of the home and school, that is where you truly learn a discipline from another person outside of the home.
Right.
Then also just a work ethic, just time management. If you're to be there at 6, you need to be there ahead of time. Of course, when you get to college, if it's 6 a.m. practice, you're there at 5:30.
Right.
But I believe the discipline, the work ethic, a drive, a failure is going to happen, but how do you rebound from that? How do you not like the taste of it?
Right.
Try to figure out a way. But those are things that I believe that sports, as far as with the discipline and a team mentality, but also know that individually you have to carry your load.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's good. Exactly for that. So you're playing, high school, you're playing college, and then you left University of Mobile and returned back to Pascagoula.
Correct.
And then you're playing in a men's basketball league.
Correct.
So probably also the first woman to play in the Pascagoula.
I'm certain.
Men's.
That's it. A Baptist church league at that. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I read somewhere where they said you couldn't play anymore.
That's right.
Because you're a woman. So you followed your brother to a football officials clinic.
That's right.
So take us through that. Like, take us back to that time and just what was going on through your head. They just, the sport that you love to play, they just said you couldn't play it anymore.
Yes.
Here you are again, surround yourself in another sport with all men.
I
like,
know. I didn't do this to bust up a little boys club. I had an older brother and a younger brother, and a father that just instilled in me that I could do anything. I never thought about my gender being something that was not the norm in any capacity.
Right.
But after college, like you said, I went and played in this men's Baptist church league, had been in this league for 3 years. We had won the church championship. We had a really good team. I was on a really good team. But there was a set of twins, and they were dirty. They would do all kind of stuff. And my brothers never took up for me, but they were like, hey, we're about to do something. And I was like, no, just keep giving me the ball. I'll post them up, shoot over them, whatever. Well, come to find out, they are the ones that raised the deal with me being out there. So they have a vote, and they kicked me out. And I didn't even know they were having the vote. Right. So the next night, I'm now playing volleyball. If you can tell, if it was a sport, I was involved. Right. But a guy comes up to me. I wish I could find out who that was. But a guy came up to me and he said, Sarah, I'm really sorry about what happened last night. And I was like, I was by myself last night. I had no clue what you're talking about. And he looked at me and he said, you really don't know, do you? And I was like, no. He said, they kicked you out of the men's basketball league. And I was like, for what? And he said, they said it's because you're a girl. And I went, well, I've been in this league for 3 years and they just now realized I'm a woman. Like, wait a minute. And then I said, we didn't have a vote. And he said, no, there wasn't anybody there from your team. So we have a revote. It comes down to a tie. As you have said, I don't know if I got voted out or I really kind of got myself kicked out because the preacher was the tiebreaker. And he asked one of the twins, why didn't they want me in the league? And he said, well, we just feel like she's a girl. She gets the calls. And then he said, when she posts us up, it feels funny. Well, my head spun around about 3 times. And I just looked at him and I said, you know, as fast paced of a game as basketball is, if you get some type of sexual sensation out of it, you don't need to be playing the sport either. So you can imagine, I said sexual sensation in a Baptist gymnasium. I was toast.
In Mississippi.
That's exactly right. In South Mississippi. So a couple of months after that, I called up my brother, my older brother, and we were day and night. We did not hang out together, so we joke about it. Like, why would I have called you up? And also, why would I have cared what you were doing that night? Because I knew it'd probably be lame and I wouldn't have done it. But when he said he was going to a football officials meeting, I just said, can girls do that? And he said, I guess so, sis, be there at 6. It wasn't foreign to my brothers either. I say that, but he did stop me before that first meeting. And he told me, he said, all right, these are a bunch of old men set in their ways. You're going to get some strange stares. I think he was probably going, I'm going to get the strange stares, bringing you in with me, but just brace yourself. But I said, I can handle them, let's go. And that's what I did.
Yes, you did. And I would imagine during that time, you know, you go from all-girls softball to University of Mobile, all-girls basketball.
That's right.
And then here you are just dropped into the country of Mississippi.
That's right.
All-boys sports.
Yeah.
So I imagine that you faced a lot of adversity.
Yeah.
You know, maybe even some setbacks, maybe even some doubt.
Yeah.
So like during that time, was it, you know, something your family instilled in you, something you learned through playing sports that gave you that toughness and that wherewithal to continue?
Jimmy, I really do believe that it just goes back to my parents were public school educators and we were very just, I thought, you know, poor, like we didn't have money and 3 kids. I'll just tell you, like being raised like with my brothers and my mother and father, they weren't about a popularity contest. We just stayed in our lane. And so as far as like doubt in those early years, like playing female sports in high school and college and then going and playing basketball with my brothers, I just didn't think it was abnormal. They didn't care that my brothers didn't care. And I would always play pickup ball at Arlington Heights Elementary with all the guys. I would always be the only girl there. So it wasn't foreign to me when I walked into the football meeting with all men. It was like, I'm intrigued by it. It's a way I could give back. But as far as doubt, I'm certain there's been times, and there has been times probably in this journey since coming into the collegiate level of football, and then of course the NFL, where I probably have had more doubt in myself than early on.
Right, yeah. That's good. That's a good point. Let's stay right here for a minute, because you did, like I read earlier, you coached in the you officiated is it official or referee?
Official.
Oh, you officiated in the Super Bowl.
Correct.
So it wasn't just any random Super Bowl.
Sure, that's exactly right.
Right? It just wasn't, hey, the next Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl 55, which was the GOAT's.
That's exactly right. That's what some people call him. I'm not calling him that, but yes.
Right? It was his last Super Bowl win for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So in that moment, right, you take the field, you know, I know y'all got all the, you know, the press and just all the interviews and all those things like that, but knowing you're taking the field and Tom Brady, and you're going to have to make a decision.
Sure.
Right? And probably an unfavorable decision
for
him, maybe at some point during the game. Did you know in that, like, take us back to that moment. Did you know in that time that you were like history? Right?
The only reason, Jimmy, is because there's so much media attention around it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know even when I got into college level D1 that I was the first female until I went to a clinic, because the guy who hired me, Gerald Austin, he didn't tell me you're going to be the first woman. I mean, it just wasn't anything like that. It wasn't until I was around my peers that said, you're going to be the first woman in Division I. No, I didn't. Then it's like, you're going to be on the fast track to the NFL. And I'm like, can we just pump the brakes? I hadn't even worked a down in NCAA. I hadn't even read the rule book. But in when you work the Super Bowl, the split second decisions of what you got, you're ready for, you're there for a reason.
Right.
So the doubt, me being there, the call, which there was a pretty big call in the Super Bowl, but it went in the Bucs' favor actually. There was a defensive end that was offside on a 4th and short, and they were going to kick a field goal, and he was like lined up on the offensive side of the ball. So I flagged it, and it gave the Bucs a first down, and I think they scored after that. But you're just ready. You've put in the work. You graded out the top of your position, and that's why you're going to the Super Bowl.
Did you ever doubt whether or not you belong?
Sure, absolutely. And I think that it just goes to, I love the game of basketball and softball and things that I do in life. I just loved it. And when I got into the high school officiating, I just loved being with the guys and meeting their families and working high school football, being able to come home. And then here this opportunity came with it being the collegiate level. Right. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it. Right. And so I go and work that first game in Memphis, and I'm like, okay, I've got a lot of work to do. Right. Plus the rule book is a whole lot different. Yeah. Plus I'm around people I've never met. It's not like I've got my guys that I've been hanging out with on a crew for 5 years. So I'm having to learn the collegiate side and the guys I'm working with. And by the way, why are y'all hiring a female? And then I'm sitting here in this meeting all by myself. But you have that doubt, but then it's how I tell people and how I did. You just have to dig deeper. It's not about allowing the tentacles to point blame at others or make excuses for why you are not prepared. You got to figure out a way to do things differently or spend more time in an area that you can build your confidence.
Yes, amen.
Yep.
Amen. That's a drop the mic moment.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So let's transition from Sarah Thomas, the NFL trailblazer and pioneer, to Sarah Thomas, the basketball mom, the baseball mom, the cheer mom.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
I never thought I'd be a cheer mom, but you just said it. I am a cheer mom. I honestly don't know that there is ever a balance. Mm-hmm. I just don't. And I know I've been asked that question when I'm doing on the speaking tour, the work-life balance. And there's just not, there's not a balance. It's, I've learned to not live up to other women's expectations of how I run my household, because it's not the norm. I heard it early on in the South. I'm very leery of women that wear pearls. I mean, watch the movie The Help. There's a reason that lady ate that poo pie. But I just, seriously, because here in the South, your house has got to be put together. You're not a stay-at-home mom, or you're not a school teacher. Right. You're a cookie-cutter approach to how women should be in the home. Right. And I just wasn't, but I tried. But then that balance that people, it was out the door. Right. So I've learned not to live up to other people's expectations of how I run my household. And I also have learned to stop saying I'm sorry to my kids when I miss something. Because it's not that mom's sitting at home eating bonbons and don't want to come. I'm trying to, squeeze in all 3 kids, their activities. I am a working mother, and if I said I was sorry all the time, then they get slick. I learned that with the boys. Then they start making you feel more guilty about when you're not there. But those are just 2 principles that I have lived by for probably the last 15 years. Bailey has never heard me say, I'm sorry, I'm missing this because of this. Right. Now, if I do something that bothers her, I do apologize. I'm not like, I do have empathy. Right. But I've just learned that.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think that one thing that I try to teach clients and people I train is to be set apart, right? Because biblically is what it makes us to be set apart. and that it's okay. Like, it's okay to not be a part of that thing, right?
Agreed.
Or it's okay to be a part of the thing that no one else is.
That's exactly right.
Like
That is, it's so true.
Yeah, it's okay. And like you mentioned Bailey, she's I don't know what you were like at that age.
Yeah.
But as an adult and her as a child, y'all mirror.
She's
the same.
I literally, I remember somebody saying to my dad, they called the house when we had landlines and said, "Is Sarah there?" He goes, "What are you kidding?" All she does is eat and sleep here. So she's on the go. But I was involved in sports, but she's an early riser.
Yeah.
I tell people if they say I'm sweet, I'm like, I'm not sweet, I'm kind, but she's truly like a sweet, she encourages me to become a better mother and just person, but she's amazing. So you giving me that comparison to her, that's a huge compliment, my 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah, she is a leader, and also, like, you know, there are times when she's the only girl there, and she still goes.
That was near and dear to my heart. Neil Broom, is that his name?
Yeah.
He sent me a picture when she was at the lessons that you give, and he goes, "She ain't scared."
No.
And he goes, "The only girl," and I go, "Oh, she is just she is me."
Yeah. So not only is she the only girl often, but she always wants to lead. I'll do it. I'll show them how to do it.
Good.
Like, she leads from the front. And so when it comes to like leadership qualities, how does it compare? How do what leadership qualities are comparable for young athletes and referees?
I do believe.
Officials.
Yeah, officials. Look, I used to say referees. You can identify us. They should have sounded the way. That's right.
Basketball referee.
I truly believe that it's learning the time management of life, prioritizing things, and what do you need to spend more time on versus being the gerbil in the hamster wheel, doing something that makes you feel good.
Right.
But prioritizing things, time management, I just think those are two huge qualities. Yeah. And you can adjust them. You know, it's like the pie chart, but you can adjust them. If you need to spend 50% here and then break it down otherwise and then adjust it. But prioritizing and time management.
That's good. Do you feel any pressure? And what I mean by that is when you're just trying to eat some boiled peanuts and have a Coke at your son's baseball game, and people recognize you, like, do you feel like the pressure of being on all the time?
I don't,
Okay.
Jimmy. There was one thing that I just vowed to myself, and it's not that I had a moment, it's like, oh, this is going to be it. I just have never allowed the added pressure of being the first female to ever weigh on my shoulders, because the job itself is what I love.
Right.
The identity of being a first is something that just came with it, and I'm not going to allow that to be extra pressure. Now, I do understand the importance of it, because you don't want to fail, and then what does that do for generations of women to come? I knew that, but being a mom at my kid's ball game, like the other day, I'm there and I'm putting on my makeup at Brady's game, and my son goes, "Yeah, I was just waiting for somebody to say something to you." It's like they don't want to mess with her. But I'm a mom. I am a mom first, and the title, the torch carrying, it is not what identifies me. If it ended tomorrow, I've done exactly what God has sent for me to do. Because I tell people, I couldn't have written this.
Right.
I couldn't have written this. Like when I just said, I was on the phone with my older brother Lee, we were like water and oil or whatever it's called. We never hung out. Why was I on the phone with him? And he's going to do something in sports. He was an avid, like, just, I guess, average, I should say, athlete. Love him. I love you, Lee. But, so I'm like, why was I on the phone with you? And why would I have wanted to go with you? And the stories that come behind it, I couldn't have written this. So this doesn't define who I am.
Exactly. That's good. And because, one thing I like to say is, like, it's not about all the stuff you collect, it's who you become by collecting.
Of course.
So that's good.
And I will tell you, you don't lose sight of who you are in order to become something that you want to become. Like I am who I am. Because I have those 3 initials NFL behind my name. Yes, it has changed the course of my life, but in a very positive way, but it doesn't mean that I have to adapt to the way life is.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, you're right. Because, there's a difference between what you are and who you are, right? Like what you are an NFL official. Like I'm a basketball coach, but who I am, we're men and women of God. Right?
That's right.
We're God-fearing, we're, things like that. So I think that's very important to point out. If you could go back and talk to your 12-year-old self, your 16-year-old self, your 18-year-old self, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself?
It's so great that I have a mini me, I guess, and she's 12. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
So, and you were alluding to that just a little bit ago. If you're constantly comparing what someone else has or what they're doing to what you are, you're truly robbing yourself of the joy that you're supposed to be seeking. Mm-hmm. So in the popularity contest, and never lose sight of who you are, the golden rule is what I would say, just make sure you live by that standard. But so much now with social media and kids seeing others that have a YouTube channel or have this or have that, or it's such an influence on them. But I am so thankful that I would continue to tell my younger self and then my mini me, hey, don't compare. Do not compare.
Yeah. What about parents and coaches? Like just from seeing youth sports, seeing NFL, all the places you go and people you talk to.
Yeah.
What's some advice you could give some parents and coaches?
Yeah. We're experts in everything when you're sitting here and your kids aren't around.
It's what you learn after you know what
it's now. Right, exactly. I would say the whole thing about don't sweat the small stuff. I remember, it's so true, but when parents stress so much about the clean house and the dishes, that's got to be clean or it's got to be perfect before someone walks in, you're so afraid of being judged. And if that's the case, then you don't need those people around you anyway. Right. So, and let your kids fail. I remember when I looked at my boys and I'm going, I want you to fail. And they're like, what? And I said, I want you to fail at something. I don't want you to like the taste of it. Right. To where they'll want to work, but you're not a failure. Exactly. And I think that if a coach has got a team that's not doing great, where's the mishap? Yeah. Yep. If parents want to have that persona that everything's great and we're going to have our kids active in everything, and then when you go behind closed doors, it's miserable. Yeah. I just think be who you are and let your kids taste a little bit of failure and don't bail them out all the time. Yeah,
that's good stuff. So as we get ready to close, I'd like to leave the ending of this time just to open the floor up for you. And that there are some, young girls that are looking up to you, right? And they're making a decision to be pioneers themselves. Yeah. What advice can you give them into just being, the difference between being confident and, conceited?
Cocky, yeah.
Like, and just walking and living in their truth.
Sure. I guess just like I would tell my own daughter or other girls, just truly stay true to yourself and to your friends. You're gonna have people that are in your life, and you don't want to be pegged as that one that's gonna backstab or talk bad, or just be sure to lift others up, pull them forward, put one foot in front of the other, and take this home with you. Just remember, when you're told you can't, you shouldn't, you won't, or someone just tells you no, to not think of it as a roadblock and give up, but instead I just challenge you, encourage you to look at it as a speed bump. And the quicker that you get over the speed bump, the faster that thing is or person will be in your rearview mirror. And your rearview mirror is so much smaller than your windshield. Your windshield is right in front of you, and it is so much bigger. So get over the speed bump, put it in your rearview mirror, put the pedal to the metal, and just always look forward. You're going to get some chips and some cracks in that windshield, But that's the taste of failure, and you just don't want to repeat it. But always look forward and never look through that rearview mirror.
Amen. Well, Sarah, I truly appreciate your time, and I thank you so much for stopping by. Before you get out of here, you have to answer this one last question.
Okay.
One word answer.
All right, wait, I've just got to brag on him because you can't edit this. But you and your wife, just what y'all have meant to me and my daughter in just the short period of time. And I think it's just the authenticity that you both have and the passion that you have. And I like to say iron sharpens iron. And I just feel like that's what you both are doing for my daughter and, of course, me. Because you got me getting up now at 5:30 in the morning, Wednesdays and Fridays. But I just want to say what you're doing is instrumental, both of you. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate it. All right.
All right.
One word answer.
Oh, boy.
Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan, are you kidding me? You want to see the Instagram? I sent my kids last night, and they came. Well, it wasn't even LeBron.
Right.
It was Kobe, and I mean, I love me some Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Miss.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, it's Jordan. All the way.
Officially, she says Jordan.
Yes, it's Jordan. Come on.
All right.
How about you?
My answer is numbers don't lie, people feelings do. That's been the
That's
Discipleship podcast, and we'll see you